Shotgun. Drops to the 50. Now steps behind the 50. Runs to the right side of the 45 of Wisconsin to the 40. Throws it long down the field toward the end zone. Devin Smith.
Touchdown!
Got it, Devin Smith. He's got it for a touchdown in the middle of the end zone. Got behind Marcus.
Welcome back to patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience, as well as YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, etc., etc. Welcome back to College Football Weekly. I thought that I was just going to come in here, and obviously there were some things that happened Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, whatever have you. And I'm just like, well, obviously I'm going to have to discuss this, and I'm going to have to discuss this and discuss this and this, that, and the third. One thing I did not think I was going to have to discuss is the top story. For whatever reason, I guess Saturday night was just too much after we've seen this for years. Lincoln Riley has dismissed Alex Grinch as defensive coordinator of the University of Southern California Trojans. I am in a very, very special position in this because not only am I a USC fan, but I'm also an Oklahoma fan. So I've had to endure Alex Grinch and his terrible defense for years. I remember screaming boomer after every touchdown in the Rose Bowl semifinal game when Baker Mayfield and that offense was playing their ass off, and Alex Grinch and his defense couldn't hold up their end, and Georgia came storming back and won the game in overtime, and then proceeded to lose in overtime to Alabama in the national championship game. Remember, this is the game where Tua comes in the second half and, supplants Jalen Hurts, and Tua throws the bomb deep to Devontae Smith in the end zone. But remember, Georgia had to go through Oklahoma first, and Baker and the offense played a hell of a game. Alex Grinch's defense did not. Lincoln left Oklahoma, obviously, and went to USC, and he took Alex Grinch with him, and the defense has been the same. So, after USC surrendered 101 total points in the past two games, defensive coordinator Alex Grinch was relieved of his duties. Coach Lincoln Riley announced on Sunday. Grinch, who was also Oklahoma's defensive coordinator from 2019 to 2021 before leaving for USC alongside Riley, led a unit that allowed an average of 34.5 points per game this season and was in the bottom 30 in the country in nearly every statistical category, including 120th in rushing, defense, and 107th against the pass. Pause really quickly. The two Utah games last year showed us. It made USC look soft. The offense would get up, and the offense would get these leads, and the defense would turn around and surrender those leads. Nobody, everybody's like, okay, so Utah's actually a really good football program. We found that out, and that's perfectly fine. Nobody thought that USC was not going to be able to tackle in the Cotton Bowl against the University of Tulane, right? 3 losses last year, 2 to Utah and 1 to Tulane in the bowl game. They've lost 3 games this season already. They're out of the rankings. But I have more on that later because it's some weird shit going on. But anyway, in a statement sent via USC spokesperson, Riley named defensive line coach Sean Nua and linebackers coach Brian Odom as co-defensive coordinators for the rest of the season. Even going back to last season when USC finished the year allowing 47 points to Utah in the Pac-12 title game loss and 46 points to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl loss, Grinch had been the subject of much criticism surrounding his and the unit's performance. Quote, as a coach, you don't deflect. Grinch, who routinely took responsibility for the defense's shortcomings on a weekly basis, said, at practice last week, I couldn't be more disappointed in myself and the inability to get the guys to be more sound. Throughout the offseason, USC and Riley specifically preached patience and gave an optimistic outlook on the progress the defense would make with more time and more talent. Yet even as USC used the transfer portal to bring in defensive players such as former Georgia lineman Bear Alexander and former Oklahoma State linebacker Mason Cobb, among others, the performance of the unit did not improve. USC finished last season as the 87th ranked team in defensive SP, plus this season is ranked 87th. Riley had until now stood by Grinch and his efforts, but after Saturday night's 52-42 loss to Washington, USC's third defeat in 4 games, and they should have lost to Colorado too, let's be real, with the defense allowing 572 yards of offense and 52 points. Riley could only default to not wanting to answer big picture questions, as is related to Grinch and the defense. I know as a head coach, all falls under my responsibility. Ultimately, Riley said, I don't shy away from that and never have, but there are times and places for those discussions, and those will happen at the appropriate time. One source close to the program told ESPN after Saturday's game that Grinch was for all intents and purposes done at USC, and while some thought Riley would wait until after the season to let him go, The coach waited less than 24 hours to make the move. After suffering its second conference loss of the year, USC now needs to win out and get much help to have a shot at qualifying for the Pac-12 title. I'm going to tell you right now, that's out the window. They still have Oregon on their schedule. Keep that in mind. That's out the window. And they should have lost to Colorado. Like, USC will not be playing for the Pac-12 championship game next month. I'm telling you that with all the confidence in the world. If they are, and I have to eat crow, a lot has to happen for that to happen. Everybody else in the Pac-12 needs to implode right now. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter because Washington still holds a head-to-head loss against them. Utah still holds a head-to-head loss against them as well. So take with, do with that what you will. Just saying. The Trojans head to Oregon next week to face a Ducks team like Washington. Features one of the best offenses in the nation with plenty to play for. And while Grinch was certainly the face of USC's defensive issues, Riley and the rest of his staff have their work cut out for them as the program heads to the Big Ten next season, hoping to not waste a top 5 offense in the country like they have the past 2 weeks. As if it wasn't bad enough in Los Angeles, USC dropped out of the Associated Press college football polls Sunday for the first time under Coach Lincoln Riley, and number 15 Oklahoma State vaulted into the rankings for the first time this year. The top 9 teams in the top 25 held their spots, and we're going to get into that more lately. Look, this is not, it's just not good. It's not good. Lincoln was brought in there to pick up a program that didn't perform under Clay Helton. They haven't performed under Lincoln either. And I'm not going to put it all on Grinch, but I'm going to give him the lion's share of the blame. But Lincoln deserves some too. Again, Alex Grinch was the defensive coordinator back in 2019 at Oklahoma. There were problems then. All right, there were problems then. Actually, I don't know if he was the D coordinator when we lost to Georgia, but the defense was the issue there as well. Let's see. I'm going to go check. Let's see what was the final score of that game. Oklahoma. This is Georgia Rose Bowl 2018. 54-48. Let's take a look at the stats. Oklahoma put up 14 in the first quarter, 17 in the second, none in the third, 14 in the third, and only a field goal in overtime. Georgia put up 7 in the first, 10 in the second, 14 in the third, 14 in the fourth, and 9 in overtime. Baker Mayfield, was 23 of 35 for 287 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Hollywood Brown, 8 catches, 114 yards and a TD. Jake Fromm, 20 of 29, 210 yards and 2 TDs. Georgia played their ass off. I'm not going to take that away from them. Oklahoma had that game and they blew it. And partially the blame goes to the defense. So, I didn't think it was going to, I didn't see a circumstance where Lincoln Riley would fire Alex Grinch. And a lot of people, the joke on Twitter has been that Alex Grinch has launch codes. He's got dirt on Lincoln. He's got dirt on boosters. He knows some stuff that they can't let get out. And that's why he still has a job. Like, people legit said this because, excuse me, that defense was horrible. And a lot of people were like, no, nobody cares about Oklahoma football anymore. You guys just can't recruit, blah, 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 blah. That defense will be fine in California because now kids are going to want to go there. They got some great defensive players through the portal, and the defense is still shit. They couldn't tackle, or they looked like they were afraid to tackle last year. They don't seem motivated. They didn't seem motivated by Alex Grinch. I told people when Colorado, since obviously we're going to talk about that as well, when they hit that stretch where they got into Pac-12 play, I said they're going to lose these games, but the team that they actually could beat is USC, and everybody's like, you're crazy, there's nowhere they're beating USC. I said, no, they're not going to beat them, but if there's one of these 3 teams they could beat, it would be USC, and everybody's like, you're insane. I was like, well, look at the USC defense. The first week of the season, USC played San Jose State, and they gave up 38 points, and I was like, nobody sees anything wrong with this. They were like, it's the first game of the season, nobody cares. I was like, they're Southern Cal, and they're San Jose State. No shade to the people that go to the University of San Jose State or the men that play for that football team. But you're going to get a certain type of recruit in Los Angeles and a certain type of recruit in San Jose. You're going to get some guys who probably aren't 4 or 5-star guys. You're probably not going to get that many 3-star guys. That's the kind of talent you have at San Jose State. Again, I'm not trying to rag on them. These are just the facts. If San Jose State was able to put up 38 on USC, what did you guys think that the Washingtons, Utahs, Oregons of the world were going to be able to do? And let's not forget, Colorado came to play when they played USC as well. That defense has been atrocious. And the crazy thing about it is that same defense fucked up in Bedlam, and we'll talk about Bedlam in a minute. That same defense fucked up in Bedlam, and Lincoln looked checked out on the sideline, and the next morning he takes the USC job. And he thought that it was an Oklahoma problem. You know, all the stuff that people said about Lincoln being afraid to go up against teams in the SEC, I don't know. It kind of looks kind of strange. Like they're like, oh, well, you dodged the SEC and now you're going to play in the Big Ten. Regardless of those cheating accusations, the only thing that's going to stop the University of Michigan from being the University of Michigan is if the NCAA levies sanctions against them, if they take away scholarships and stuff like that. Then it'll be hard for them to field the kind of team that has to beat Ohio State every Thanksgiving weekend and the team that's going to challenge for the Big Ten championship. It'll be hard to field those teams. But if the sanctions aren't bad, Michigan's going to walk all over USC. Ohio State is going to walk all over USC. Wisconsin is going to give USC a game. Iowa's going to give USC a game. And let's not forget, Washington and Oregon, they're coming along. UCLA gave USC hell last year, and I am objectively saying this as a fan of Trojans football. That's how you know it's true. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm also not going to sugarcoat Oklahoma for you guys either, because they're going to have their time in front of the jury as well in just a few minutes. So, again, I didn't think this day would come. When I looked up and turned on my television, and I go to the YouTube app, and it's like, Alex Grinch dismissed from USC. I was like, no fucking way. No fucking way. I was going to record it either way tonight, right? But then I was like, let's go. Turn on the mic. Let's fucking go. Because I am thoroughly fucking surprised about this. So we will see how the rest of the season shakes out. You can't change bad habits that quickly. I still expect USC to probably lose another ball game. Somebody said they were going to be 7-5 this season, and that's not that far-fetched. They're already bowl eligible, but they're not playing in the New Year's Six Bowl. Not at this point. They're not. And there's another team that's 7-3 that's still ranked, and I'm just like, how the fuck? But anyway, so this past weekend, of course, I'm going to skip all the earlier games. TCU and Texas Tech played on Thursday night. Texas Tech won that 35-28. Duke 24-21 over Wake Forest. It's very, very interesting. The more I look at TCU, I think they are a bad football team. And I think that they had a Cinderella season last year, and I still don't think they belonged in the college football playoff. And I still, to the day I die, will say that Michigan underestimated TCU, and that's why the game ended up the way it did. When you're playing from behind because you underestimated somebody and that team is giving it everything they've got, of course it's going to be harder to climb that hill. Had Michigan taken them serious from the first snap of the game, after that big run that they broke off that I think was like 45 or 50 yards, if they play with that same confidence and that same, their motor running at that same speed the whole game, then I think they destroy them. Obviously, we saw what Georgia did, but it is what it is. But TCU, more than likely, I think the more that we look at it, they're just not a good football team, and it's time for people to stop acting like it because Sonny Dykes ain't there no more. Anyway. So TCU's got another loss. Duke continues to win. Congrats to them. Friday night, Boston College at Syracuse, 17-10 win by BC. Saturday, this is where things start to get good. This is what they called Survival Saturday because you had to survive. I know the final score is 35-16, Ohio State over Rutgers, but Rutgers was up at one point in this game. They were up at one point in this game, and I think as late as the second quarter, so I don't know. I have to give hats off to the Tigers, man. I'm a Missouri boy, show me state kid, born here, raised here, will more than likely die here. I've been telling people all week, I'm hashtagging stuff, beat Georgia, beat Georgia. Everybody's like, you're crazy, they're not going to beat Georgia. I was like, hey, this Mizzou team is tough. Georgia's had 3 tough ball games in 2 years. 2 of them have been given to them by the Missouri Tigers. The other one was to Ohio State in the national semifinal, but that's Ohio State. Nobody else gave Georgia the hell that Missouri has given them. Cody Schrader ran for 112 yards, all right? Luther Burden III did his thing. He got hurt for a minute. Brady Cook definitely did his thing. Shout out to Brady. You guys played your ass off. There are no moral victories. A loss is still a loss, and you guys are 7-2 now. But you're still a very good fucking football team, and you still have a chance at a really, really good fucking bowl game as well. Can they get in that large bid? It depends on what happens the rest of the way. The SEC championship game is the tipping point. If Alabama, who's basically penciled in at this point, if Alabama can somehow beat Georgia, they're both going to stay in the college football playoff. At that point, you're looking at Mizzou possibly playing in the Sugar Bowl. So, fingers crossed. I got to be honest with you. I need Alabama to win the SEC title game for Mizzou to get a shot at a New Year's Six bowl game. We got fucked in 2007. We beat Kansas head-to-head. We were the better team. And then our stupid governor shot his mouth off and said we had bigger fish to fry, meaning the national championship game. And then we lost to Oklahoma, and we ended up, I think, in the Liberty Bowl, and Kansas ended up in the Orange Bowl. That needs to be rectified. If this was next year, Mizzou would be one of those probably at-large teams to get into the college football playoff, and that would be nice. But it's not next year. This is still this year. There's only 4 teams that are going to get in. Bama seems to still be on this revenge tour. We're going to talk about that in a second. But if Alabama can beat Georgia in the SEC title game, then you have to put Bama in the college football playoff, and you obviously would keep Georgia in as well. The loser of Michigan, Ohio State won't get in unless the winner doesn't win the Big Ten title. And Notre Dame has 3 losses, so they're out. So this is gonna, and also Air Force lost, so they're out. So I'm a Alabama fan for the rest of the year because I want Missouri to play in a better bowl game. We constantly get sent to the Liberty Bowl, and I'm sorry, give us better. Anyway, but again, no moral victories. They're 7-2. They gave Georgia hell. They gave LSU hell. I told you guys at the beginning of the season this was a good Mizzou football team. I thought a lot of people just kind of downplayed them. They're like, oh, they're not playing anybody. They're playing Memphis and Middle Tennessee State. And, they beat K-State, who won the Big 12 last year. They've played very, very tough teams. I still think we can beat Arkansas. I think we will. I still think we can and will beat Florida. I think we will finish the season at 10-2. And then we should be in line for a good bowl game. If not the Sugar Bowl, that's fine. Cotton Bowl, whatever. We should still be in line for a New Year's Six bowl game. So that's that. Purdue went on the road to Michigan, and Michigan obviously housed them 41-13. J.J. McCarthy, 335 yards through the air. Here's the thing, guys. I know there's that whole sign stealing thing, and it just came out. But remember, that's been out for a week, and you see what Michigan did at home to Purdue. This is just like the Patriots and the whole sign stealing thing back in 2007. That came out early in the season, and you know what Tom and the boys did? They said, you know what, we're going to prove to you guys that we're really a good football team, so we're going to throttle everybody on the way. They went undefeated in the regular season through the AFC playoffs and then had the misfortune of having to play the Giants again in the Super Bowl. The Giants shouldn't have been there. The Cowboys couldn't take care of business, and the Giants closed the doors and turned the lights off in Texas Stadium, and then Jerry World opened the next year, if I remember correctly. But I feel like Michigan is now on a fuck you tour, and I love that. I feel like Alabama's on a revenge tour, and I love that as well. So I still expect Michigan to give Ohio State absolute hell on Thanksgiving weekend. Florida State at Pitt, 24-7 win. Pitt was up early 7-0. They didn't score again after that. Florida State went on the rail off 24 points. They're looking at a date with Louisville in the ACC title game. Unless Louisville slips at some point, I don't know. We'll check the conference standings in a minute. But this is a very talented team. Very talented team. But again, they play in the ACC, and the competition is a bit less than where it would be in other conferences. So, it's hard to judge them against anybody because they play in the ACC, unfortunately. And Clemson, we'll get to that in a second, but Clemson is not the same as they were a couple years ago. Miami has not been the same since everything that happened after the 2003 Fiesta Bowl national championship game, and just everything. The Orange Bowl, Sean Taylor being murdered, just everything. Miami just, when the Orange Bowl was torn down, I think Miami lost their true swagger. I just don't think that, God, they need somebody from the University of Miami at the University of Miami. No shade to Mario Cristobal, because he actually is from U of M, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't say this every week. They're not the same. They're just not the same. The U was the team to be. If you were black in the 80s and 90s, you wanted to go to the University of Miami if you were a talented football player. Like, if you were a top recruit, you had to talk to the University of Miami. And I don't mean to make this a racial thing, but, like, if you were black, like, yeah, go to the U. Go to the fucking U. They're just not the same. So I say that to say that Florida State essentially has no real competition in the ACC. But I think Louisville could give them a game, and that's going to be very interesting. Washington, of course, went into the Coliseum and beat the Trojans 52-42. There was a point where the Trojans were up, and then they were down by a field goal. They couldn't get that. The offensive line did Caleb Williams no favors. Caleb Williams also did himself no favors. You can't afford to take a sack when you're in field goal range and you're down by a field goal. And if you know that the guys on the other side of the ball, the guys you share the locker room with, your brothers, the defense can't hold up their end of the bargain. But at the same time, I've seen Caleb Williams have to, like, turn shit into sugar over and over and over. It's not his responsibility. The shitty thing is that after the game, he went over to his parents and he cried on his mother's shoulder, and obviously the camera saw that and they made a big deal about that. The reason people made a huge deal was the fact that Caleb cried sometime last year and the media gave him shit for it, and then when Max Duggan cried after TCU lost the Big 12 championship game, Caleb retweeted the video of it and put LOL. And the reason he did that, he wasn't laughing at Duggan. The reason he did that is because everybody kind of called him soft for crying. Then when Max Duggan does it after losing a game, it's like, look at this kid. Look at the emotion. Look at the emotion. Nobody wants to win more than this kid. Well, when you say that about a white kid, it's like, oh, he's such a team guy. But then a black kid cries, it's a whole different thing. And anybody that's like, that's nothing, you're trying to make this a racial thing, you can kiss my ass, because that's exactly what it is. It's not even essentially what it is. That's exactly what it is. We've all experienced it. A black kid yells at somebody on the field, they don't know how to act, they can't play no ball, they're going to be detrimental to their team. A white kid does it, oh, this kid's got a motor, look at it, he's passionate about this. They're described different ways. A white kid isn't talented. He's got a high football or basketball or baseball IQ. He's out there because he gets the job done. A black kid's not talented. He's just not talented and he can't play at this level. I'll never forget. I tell this story to people often. They think it's a joke. I remember being a kid and playing Little League Baseball. My best friend's dad was the coach. It was me and my best friend, Stephen Heiss. His dad, Mr. Heiss. And he asked my brother what position he was wanting to play. And my brother's like, I'm ready to pitch. And he's like, you're not ready for that. And then Steven, even though he was one of my best friends as a kid, Mr. Heiss put his son out there every Saturday afternoon. And every Saturday afternoon we got our asses beat because Steven was not a good pitcher. But his dad thought he was. Now, you're going to tell me my brother couldn't have done any better than that? I don't buy that. I don't buy that. So as a black man, I've dealt with this my entire life. All right? Caleb, there's nothing wrong with you showing emotion. Being myself and being a black man at 41 years old, I know there's a time and a place, and I understand it comes out. Somebody's got to get to him and say, hey, just hold it. Not in front of the cameras. Hold it, not in front of the cameras. Because this is the story they're running with today. And on Twitter, all they've done is attack this young man. On Twitter and in Instagram comments. People will tell you they're racist in these comments and threads without telling you they're racist. And that's what they've done. So it sucks. I hate it had to be him. But it is what it is. But at this point, USC is on life support. The Bears lost to the Saints today, and everybody keeps saying that Lincoln's going to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears if the job is offered to him. I think he loves being in California. Chicago is very cold. The state of Illinois as a whole is actually very cold. I found that out the hard way. It was pretty nice everywhere but Illinois when I went to see the Fighting Illini play the University of Nebraska. It was like, Mon's like, no, it's colder up here than it is where you guys are from. I'm like, no way, it can't be. And like, oh shit, it really is colder here than it is back home. So I think that Los Angeles is much nicer than Chicago. No shade to Chicago. And I'm pretty sure his kids like being in Los Angeles, and going from like Oklahoma to LA to then Chicago would be very interesting. Also, college is a lot different. The NFL, the Chicago Bears are a very proud franchise. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1985, but they're a very proud franchise. And you're not going to get the time you need to turn that franchise around. You're just not. And at this point, truthfully, I don't know how much time you have left at USC. They're not going to fire Lincoln this year. I think if he would have kept going with Grinch, they might have considered it. The fact that he got rid of Grinch, I think he bought himself some time because we all know the true issue is that defense. I don't know. We'll see. They're not ranked for the first time since he's been the coach of that team. I know this is only his second season, but that's insane. Cal won on the road to Oregon. Remember, USC gave up a bunch of points to Cal last week. Do you want to know what the final score was of the game against Oregon? 63-19. Bo Nix threw for 386 yards. 63-19. That tells you how bad USC was. They gave up double digits to Cal. Cal damn near put up 40, I think, last week. I don't know. It was bad. Cal doesn't have the horses to finish that game. Oregon does. Utah does. Washington does. Notre Dame does. If Cal had the same talent those schools had, USC would be 6-4 right now. Just saying. K-State, man, they went on the road to Austin and they gave the Longhorns everything they could handle. 33-30 loss in overtime. I'm going to blame this on the coach, though. All you had to do is kick the field goal to tie it up. Tie it up, get it to the next OT, and then continue to play. When it comes down to you having to go for two, that's different. There are free points. Put them on the board. Take the free points and get to the next overtime. They decided to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal. They didn't get it, and then they ended up losing. And this is why you always take the points. Cannot stress that enough. Take the points. So while K-State should be, they should have been celebrating a victory, unfortunately they have a loss in OT to Texas. You got to take the points there. I just don't understand that. The Alabama revenge tour continues. 42-28 win over LSU. This game was close earlier. Jaden Daniels got hurt. That obviously played a factor, but Alabama played out of their minds. But LSU did not roll over. When Jaden Daniels got hurt, that's where the game effectively truly changed, and LSU just couldn't hang with them anymore. So Alabama ran away with this one 42-28. Don't look now. The Crimson Tide are coming. Alabama, I think, is 8-1 at this point. Everybody wrote them off after the loss to Texas. I know they started bad against UCF, right? Everybody wrote them off. Alabama will be in Georgia playing for the SEC title. They will be in Atlanta, Georgia playing for the SEC title. And I need them to beat the University of Georgia. Because I need both of them to get in the college football playoff in order for Mizzou to get an at-large bid to a New Year's Six bowl game. You can call me a homer all you want. I don't care. The last Bedlam. This one was an absolute heartbreaker. While I said that I was very proud of Missouri for the way that they played against Georgia, I am disgusted at what Oklahoma did. I am disgusted at Jeff Lebby for the way that he called plays. This was just terrible. They can't hold the lead. They start slow. Dylan Gabriel threw for 344 yards, and they still lost. These slow starts, they're unprepared. They play without any heart. They play without any desire. You lost to Kansas last week, and then you blow Bedlam. Now, keep in mind, both Kansas and Oklahoma State have winning records. But also, both teams were unranked. Actually, I take that back. Oklahoma State was ranked on Saturday. Kansas was not ranked when we lost to Kansas. So I keep looking at this Oklahoma team, and I'm thinking, what's it going to take for you guys to wake up? I love Coach Venables, don't get me wrong, but something's missing. Something is definitely missing. At some point, he is going to have to cut the cord with Jeff Lebby, the same way that Lincoln had to cut the cord with Alex Grinch, because something's not working. Oklahoma has had Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Dylan Gabriel, Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams. Those are the quarterbacks they've had over the past 7 seasons or so. Baker, Kyler, both won Heisman's. Caleb won one. Of course, he was at USC at that point. They also had Spencer Rattler, Jalen Hurts, and now Dylan Gabriel. Those are the quarterbacks that they've been able to trot out there and have nothing to show for it. Couldn't even win the goddamn Big 12 the last few years. You got the talent you wanted through the portal. You've got you have a decent football team, I'll say that. If you can't compete in the Big 12, you don't even want to wake up for Saturdays in the SEC. You don't even want to wake up. So you better put the sloppiest of the sloppy on your non-conference schedule. Don't even think about scheduling against somebody from the ACC or the Big 10 or your former conference, the Big 12. You better play James Madison and a bunch of other schools. You guys cannot compete. You're not even trying. That was absolutely disappointing. So let's see. You lost Bedlam this year. You lost Bedlam last year. And you lost the year that Lincoln. So overall, I think Oklahoma's won like 90 some odd games in the Bedlam series. And Oklahoma State has only won about 20. Let's see. Bedlam series record. Google, 91, 19, and 7. This is insane. But let's take a look at the last few. Oh, I take it back. We won last year in Norman. I take that back. 28-13. Yeah, we've beaten the shit out of them. I'm not going to lie. We have. That's not the point. This was the last one. And this was your last season in the Big 12. You knew we were going to get everybody's absolute best shot. You guys have played uninspired. I just don't know. I don't know how anybody. I'm like, look, let's focus on getting bowl eligible. At the beginning of the season, I said, let's focus on getting bowl eligible. And then let's focus on trying to win the Big 12 on our way out. There's no way I, as a true Oklahoma fan, woke up and said it's national championship or bust, because it was going to be bust regardless. This just isn't. This isn't the Oklahoma football I grew up watching. Obviously. God. I just wish Bob Stoops would say, you know what, this whole retirement thing doesn't work for me and I'm going to come back and coach. Because it seems to be that's the only guy that can motivate this program. It's the only guy. And it's crazy how Caleb stayed and played in the bowl game when Bob Stoops coached the team and then hightailed it out there to L.A. with Lincoln that quick. And I don't want to get on Caleb. I don't. I understand you went to Oklahoma to play for the quote-unquote quarterback guru. because Jalen Hurts played in the Super Bowl last year, and the Eagles are now 7-1, I think, or 8-1, something like that. Kyler Murray was the number one overall pick. Baker Mayfield was the overall number one pick as well. Jalen Hurts, after Tua had to step in at Alabama, people thought he would never play quarterback in the NFL. And he was literally one possession away from winning a Super Bowl not even a full year ago. So, is Lincoln the quarterback whisperer? Yeah, to a certain extent. He really is. He took his show on the road and left. I know that they wanted to fill that spot quick, and they knew that Coach Venables would more than likely want to because he loves the program. I just don't. If you're having conversations with him and he's like, yeah, I'm going to bring Jeff Lebby in as my OC, at that point, I would pause all contract negotiations. I just don't understand how we ended up here. We're a blue blood of college football, and look at where we are now. And I know we're getting 12 playoff spots next year. The SEC is going to be tough. There are no days off now. So what? You get to play Vanderbilt? Okay. You get to play South Carolina? Okay. You get to play Mizzou. Now, when you guys were both in the Big 8 and the Big 12, when you saw Mizzou on your schedule, you're like, oh, it's a win. That ain't that Mizzou anymore, buddy. That's not that same Mizzou. They're tough. Elijah Drinkwitz, very good fucking coach. The Gary Pinkel era. We were right there. It's not the same Mizzou. There are no days off in the SEC. Because even Florida, a less talented Florida team, is probably still better than the most talented Oklahoma team. Why? Because the recruiting is different in the Sunshine States. This is going to be a tough road to climb. So any chance of the Big 12 championship, I believe, is out the window. We'll check the standings. But, yeah, man, it is what it is. Texas A&M almost beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss hung on 38-35. They're playing their asses off, and they're playing for a spot in a New Year's Six bowl game as well. Penn State on the road in Maryland, 51-15. Jesus Christ. Penn State has a date with that team in maize and blue next Saturday, so pay attention. Louisville 34-3 win over Virginia Tech. Again, they're just rolling on their way to the ACC title game. Don't slip up. I want to see somebody actually push the Florida State Seminoles. The shocker. I was so shocked when I saw this score. Notre Dame went on the road to Clemson and lost 31-23. Dabo Swinney would like us to not write Clemson off yet. You guys won. Congratulations. If you don't want to use the transfer portal, I'm going to write you off. Period. I don't want to hear that shit, Dabo. You know what it takes to win. This is not the way, like, when you took over at Clemson, it was totally different. The game has changed and evolved. You cannot tell these kids, no, that old transfer shit is done. Okay, well, if you transfer, you got to sit out a year. But a coach can leave and go to another program and coach and make money right away. No, that's not right. Also, the fact that these coaches being mad that the NIL is paying kids, you make millions of dollars and these kids can't make anything. Meanwhile, the school makes all this money off of their backs. You guys are out of your fucking mind. It's not going to ruin college football. Because guess what? You guys added more teams to the college football playoff, which means more TV and more TV money. All right? We're not stupid. Still shocked that Notre Dame lost. They now have 3 losses as well. Not going to lie. Clemson is now 5-4. Oregon State on the road in Boulder. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised this game was as close as it was. 26-19. For the first time all season, the Buffaloes are under 500. They are 4-5. However, for everybody who keeps saying, "See, Deion's a terrible coach. Prime is crap." Da 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 da. I want you guys to understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 and 11. Colorado won 1 game last year. They lost 11. Colorado currently has 4 wins this year, and they've lost 5. Anybody who says that's not an improvement, I want you to go to your tool shed, grab your hammer, and hit yourself in the head because you're an idiot. They've already surmounted their win total from last season. Do they still need help? Yes, on the offensive and defensive line. They need help in the defensive backfield as well. Both Sanders boys are coming back next year, and they're going to get some other talent as well. Let me tell you something. For all the people, and I'm just going to say it, all the people I see in the comments on Twitter and Instagram, he's a terrible coach, blah, 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 blah. I saw maybe one black person say that, and the rest of them were white. So all you guys who go to these Power 5 schools and these blue bloods, you're like, we're going to get this guy, we're going to get that guy. Guess what? Generally, black people stick together. Generally, black people stick together. So we will go ride for Dion any day of the week before we go to another school and work for you guys to still be called niggers behind our back. I want you to understand that right now. So if you think this is it, it's not it. This is the worst that they're going to be under Deion Sanders. They're going to get more talent. They're going to get better. Don't write them off. Don't write them off. That program was an absolute peril. They did not even have money to pay the man when he took the job. The AD said that. He said, I will find the money somewhere. They sold out their spring game for the first time in the team's history. They sold out every game this season. They've had Lil Wayne, Chad Johnson, Moneybag Yo, The Rock, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, a host of celebrities. Imagine being a 17-year-old kid and loving Wayne and then going out, for the kids who did do this, going out to Colorado during that week and Wayne and The Rock being in the locker room with you while you're taking your official visit. Where do you think those kids are going to sign? Be fucking real, all right? So this is only the beginning. They're going to get better and better and better. And you guys are going to rue the day that you made those stupid comments. They're down now, but they will be back up. Tennessee at home rolled UConn 59-3. Utah 55-3 win over Arizona State. Arizona upsets UCLA 27-10. That really shook up everybody there. Kansas barely by a touchdown over Iowa State 28-21. Tulane 13-10 win over East Carolina. The Black Knights of West Point, Army upset Air Force 28-3. That's Army's first win over a ranked opponent in I forget how many years. It's been quite some time. I think like their last 26 games or something like that. So shout out to the Cadets, man. Shout out to them. Arkansas 39-36 win over Florida in overtime. Mizzou still has both those teams on the schedule, so I'm paying very close attention. Wisconsin 14, Indiana 20. Wisconsin, I don't know why Brett Bielema thought he would have it better elsewhere. Illinois and Arkansas. Like, Wisconsin had a pretty good run, like, where they were one of the top tier teams in the Big Ten. They usually represented the Big Ten West in the Big Ten title game. So I don't know why Bielema thought he would have it better at Arkansas in the SEC, where you have to play LSU, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, etc. And then you go back to the Big Ten by taking the University of Illinois job. So you still get beat up on by Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue, Iowa, etc., etc. I always give Brett Bielema a lot of credit for being a good coach, but then I think about it and he's not that talented. He's not that intelligent. I'll say that. I think he's a good coach. He's not very smart, clearly. But money talks and bullshit walks. So I can't remember what Arkansas gave him, and I can't remember what the University of Illinois gave him. But clearly it's not paying any dividends. So, I mean, here we are. This one was a shocker. As bad as Nebraska has been, Michigan State is in absolute turmoil. And somehow they still managed to win 20-17. This is crazy. This is crazy. But hopefully Michigan State figures it out. For some reason, Urban Meyer's name is still at the top of that coaching list, and he's said it multiple times. But coaches lie, so who knows? Who knows? North Carolina got a win, 59-7 versus Campbell. South Carolina 38, Jacksonville State 28. Georgia Tech 45-17 win over UVA. Temple 32, Navy 18. What else do we have? Illinois 27, Minnesota 26, Iowa 10, Northwestern 7. That game was at Wrigley Field, by the way. Houston 25, Baylor 24 in OT, UCF 28, Cincinnati 26. Hey, Bearcats, how's that Power 5 conference thing working out for you? Right. Yeah, right. Let's see. James Madison continues to stay undefeated, even though they will not play in a bowl game because of those stupid NCAA rules. 42-14 win over Georgia State. Auburn 31, Vanderbilt 15. Who else do we have? Liberty 56, Louisiana Tech 30. West Virginia 37, BYU 7. University of Kentucky 24, Mississippi State 3, SMU 36, Rice 31, North Carolina State 20, Miami 6. Remember what I said about Miami earlier? Just saying. Western Kentucky 21, UTEP 13, Stanford 10, Washington State 7. This was a ranked Wazoo football team a couple of weeks ago. Not for nothing, Colorado should be bowl eligible or one game away, but they blew that game to Stanford. I think Stanford looked up after everybody's like, yeah, we don't want you in our conference. And the ACC's like, we'll take you because we want the California TV market. And Stanford felt disrespected. Stanford, understand this. You should never feel disrespected. You guys are the Harvard of the West Coast, right? If you guys win football games, that's awesome. But it doesn't matter. You guys incubate the most intelligent minds on the planet. You know, you guys have guys and girls who went on to head up Fortune 5 companies and basically run Silicon Valley. So you shouldn't feel bad that you don't compete well in college football because you are the standard in college academics. So, I don't know. And then Boise State, Fresno State 37, Boise State 30. I don't know. That Mountain West Pac-12 merger thing, I don't know what's going to happen there. The funny thing about this is, like, will they play a schedule with them? Because how does the Pac-12 have a championship game when they only have two teams? Is it Washington State and Oregon State are default going to play for the Pac-12 title? Like, the scheduling next year for the Pac-12 is going to be interesting because they only have two fucking teams. I don't know. Just figure it out. Anyway, next week, we are deeper in conference scheduling. Some mid-majors through the week. Nothing to really look at it. Virginia and Louisville on Thursday night, actually. That's a 6:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. Pay attention because Louisville is still on pace to face Florida State in the ACC title game. The big game, the big one in my eyes, big noon kickoff. Michigan on the road at Penn State. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff over on Fox. Alabama on the road at 11 a.m. kickoff at Kentucky. Texas Tech at Kansas. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff on FS1. Tulsa at Tulane, 11 a.m. as well on ESPN2. Holy Cross versus Army, CBS Sports Network. Indiana at Illinois, the Big Ten Network. Maryland at Nebraska, the Peacock Network. Vanderbilt at South Carolina on the SEC Network. Virginia Tech at Boston College on the ACC Network. And the 11 a.m. game on ABC will be Georgia Tech at Clemson. In other action, Arizona at Colorado. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff over on the Pac-12. Whoever they're running their TV through. Colorado desperately needs this game to get back to 500 and get one game closer to bowl eligible. So we shall see. James Madison is at home against UConn, trying to stay undefeated. It doesn't matter, though, because they will not be able to play in a bowl game even if they do. They're bowl eligible already, and they cannot play in a bowl game. The NCAA is fucking stupid. They're not allowed to play due to any sanctions or recruiting violations or anything like that. They moved up from Division II to Division I, so the NCAA says they cannot play in a bowl game for 2 seasons. That's ridiculous. NC State at Wake Forest on CW. That's still weird to me. Baylor at Kansas State. That's on Big 12 ESPN Plus. Miami at Florida State, 2:30 p.m. kickoff over on ABC. A couple months ago, this was going to be a very important game. Is Miami going to upset Florida State? I don't think so. However, stranger things have been known to happen. These two teams, for whatever reason, that's why you had wide right 1 and 2 and all the other issues in the Miami-Florida State game. There's just something about this game, and I think this should be one of the ones that happens on Thanksgiving weekend as well, along with the Iron Bowl and the Egg Bowl and the game Michigan-Ohio State. I feel like this should be moved to Thanksgiving as well because there's so many classic moments in this game. It's one of those timeless rivalries. Miami, Florida State, and Florida, basically they play for the state championship of the state of Florida. So this one, keep an eye on. Even though Florida State is the better team, keep an eye on this game. Just saying. Who else do we have? Number 18, Utah on the road against Washington. That's a 2:30 game over on Fox. Oh, gosh, I forgot about this. Tennessee on the road here in Columbia against the Tigers. This is a tough game. Mizzou needs to win this and win out to have any hopes at a New Year's Six bowl game. This is going to be a tough one. Oklahoma State at UCF. Rutgers at Iowa. Minnesota at Purdue. Northwestern at Wisconsin. Pitt at Syracuse. Auburn at Arkansas. Washington State at Cal. Stanford at Oregon State. Ole Miss at Georgia. Trap game written all over it. If we gave Georgia the game that we gave them, if you think Ole Miss is going to let up on them, you're crazy. This has trap game written all over it. Georgia better watch out. The Mountaineers are in Norman against my Sooners. I would love to say we're going to win this game, but I can't be 100% certain. I'm not going to lie to you. So we'll see how this one shakes out. I don't really have much confidence in the team right now. They're just not. They're playing uninspired, and I've said that multiple times, so we'll see. Cincinnati at Houston. Remember just a year or two ago, these two teams were fighting to get into the college football playoff. Now they're just fighting for wins. It's a lot different when you play in a Power 5 conference, and I think that Cincinnati and Houston are both finding that out the hard way. They did both used to be part of Power 5 conferences. Houston was part of the Southwestern Conference. Cincinnati was part of the Big East, if I remember correctly. And then the Big East disbanded and only cared about basketball again. And then the AAC was formed, and they didn't grant them Power 5 rights or anything like that, so it is what it is. Let's see. San Diego State at Colorado State. Michigan State at Ohio State. That's a 6:30 game on NBC. I don't expect Michigan State to win. Stranger things have happened. That's all I'm going to say. Texas at TCU, 6:30 p.m. kickoff on ABC. That's your night game. When the schedule was made, this was probably a really good game, but we found out that TCU is not really a great football program. And here we are. So it is what it is. Florida at LSU. LSU needs this win. Florida desperately needs it as well. This is a toss-up, but I think LSU should win. Duke at North Carolina. Previously, this was all about basketball. Now it's a good football game. However, it looks like neither team is ranked right now. I'll have to check the rankings, but Arizona State at UCLA, New Mexico at Boise State, Iowa State at BYU, USC at Oregon. They are going to get throttled. Let's not even joke around. They are going to get throttled. And then Air Force at Hawaii, and that's the schedule for this week. So there are some very interesting games as we get deeper into the month of November. But, that's the schedule. Let's see where we are as far as conference standings, shall we? Tulane is still atop of the American Athletic Conference, 8-1 overall, 5-0 in the conference. Right behind them at 7-2 overall, 5-0 in the conference, the SMU Mustangs. UTSA is 6-3 overall, but 5-0 in the conference. Somebody's got to meet because there has to be a tiebreaker or something. Somebody's got to have the other one on their schedule. Anyway, we'll see. The ACC, like I said, it's a two-team race at this point. It's crazy that Georgia Tech is third in the ACC right now. That's how bad the ACC is. Keep in mind, Georgia Tech is 5-4 overall. North Carolina is 7-2 overall, but they're 3-2 in the conference. Duke also 3-2 in the conference and 6-3 overall. Duke and North Carolina have better overall records than Georgia Tech, but it's about the conference. That's why they're behind Georgia Tech in the conference standings. So as of right now, if it were to happen this weekend, it would be Florida State versus Louisville for the ACC championship. Clemson's just happy to be above 500, but they're below 500 within the conference. So it is what it is. In the Big 12, if the conference championship game were to take place this weekend, it would be Texas versus Oklahoma State because Oklahoma clearly shit the bed. Disappointment. We're behind Texas, Oklahoma State, and Kansas because we beat Texas, but we lost to both Oklahoma State and Kansas. They hold the margin in head-to-head matchups. Even though we're all at 7-2, they have to finish worse than we do for us to get a crack at the Big 12 title on the way out. I don't see it happening. In the Big 10, in the East, of course, three-team race, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. Michigan and Ohio and Penn State will play this weekend. Michigan and Ohio State are both 9-0. Penn State is 8-1. Penn State's lone loss is to Ohio State. Michigan trying to make it number 2. In the Big 10 West, Iowa sits at 7-2, and they are 4-2 in the conference. So that's who the winner would face in the Big 10 title game. Liberty 7-0 in Conference USA and 9-0 overall. I would hope that they're ranked this week. I would sincerely hope that they're ranked this week. This is insane. Let's see. The Mid-America Conference right now, Miami, Ohio versus Toledo would be their conference championship game. The Mountain West would still be Air Force versus Fresno State. Both of those teams 8-1. Air Force 5-0 in conference play. Fresno State 4-1. Of course, Air Force lost to Army. And then the Pac-12, it's a logjam. Crazy thing is USC is only sitting at third in the conference. They're 7-3. The two teams ahead of them, Oregon and Washington, the teams that managed to finagle their way to the Big Ten with USC and UCLA. Oregon and USC have a date this weekend. It's not going to turn out well. It looks like we're going to get that Oregon-Washington rematch in the Pac-12 title game, and I'm 100% all for it. I cannot fucking wait. In the SEC, of course, Georgia is leading the SEC East at 6-0. Mizzou is 7-2. Georgia 9-1 overall, 9-0 overall. Mizzou 7-2, and they're 3-2 in the conference. Right behind them is Tennessee, also at 3-2 and 7-2. Those teams will meet up this weekend here in Columbia. So this is a huge game for both of those teams because they're playing for positioning for, bowl season. Alabama 6-0. Don't mind the Crimson Tide. 8-1 overall, but 6-0 within the conference. Looks like they got a date because they've actually already beat Ole Miss. They have a date with Georgia in the at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the SEC championship game. So those are your conference standings at the moment, and let's get to the AP and coaches poll, and then you guys will join me on Wednesday for the college football playoff rankings for the week. Of course, in the AP top 25, no change in the top 9. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, and Penn State 1 through 9. They have not changed since last week. At number 10, up 1 spot is Ole Miss. Up 4 spots at 11 is Louisville. Up 4 spots at 12 is Oregon State. Up 5 spots at 13 is Utah. And up 5 spots at 14 is Tennessee. Oklahoma State checks in at 15 after not being ranked last week. I said this last night. Mizzou should not drop out of the top 25. They played the number 1 team in the country. They only dropped 2 spots to 16. Oklahoma dropped 7 spots to 17. I said that they should still be in the top 20, and both teams are. So I was right on that prediction. LSU drops 5 spots after their loss to Alabama. They're 6-3, but they're still 18th in the nation. Kansas up 3 spots after their win. They're 7-2. They're at number 19. Tulane is up 1 spot to number 20 at 8-1. James Madison is up 2 spots at 9-0 at number 21. But again, they will not play in a bowl game either way. Notre Dame falls 10 spots to number 22 after their loss to Clemson. I'm going to tell you right now, if Clemson is unranked And that was Notre Dame's third loss. And Notre Dame is still ranked. How does USC lose to the number 5 team in the nation and they're unranked? That makes no sense to me. I'm just being honest. Notre Dame should not be ranked either. Now, I know Notre Dame holds a head-to-head win over USC, but USC is 7-3 and Arizona is 6-3. Arizona, North Carolina, and Liberty 23, 24, and 25. Neither of those teams was ranked last week. I find it hard that you still find a way to put Notre Dame in after losing to Clemson, who is a 500 ball club. USC lost to the number 5 team in the nation. Others receiving votes, Kansas State 73, Fresno State 73, USC 46, Air Force 26, Toledo 25, UCLA 11, Iowa 6, SMU 5, Duke 4, West Virginia 3, A&M 1, Clemson 1, and NC State 1. Dropped from the rankings this week, Air Force, UCLA, USC, and Kansas State. In the coaches poll, 1 through 5 stay the same. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington. Oregon is back up. They're 1 spot up at number 6. Texas drops 1 spot to number 7. Alabama, Penn State, Ole Miss, all at 8, 9, and 10, no change. Louisville up 4 spots to number 11. Tennessee up 4 spots to 12. Oregon State up 6 spots to 13. Utah up 4 spots to 4. Missouri falls 1 spot to 15. Oklahoma falls 5 spots to 16. Oklahoma State is sitting at 17 after not being ranked. Even after beating the Sooners, they're still behind them in the coaches poll. That's very interesting. Kansas is up 5 spots to number 18. LSU is down 6 spots to number 19. I'm sorry. Tulane is up 1 spot to 20. James Madison is up 3 spots to 21. Notre Dame drops 10 spots again to 22. North Carolina up 2 spots to 23. Arizona and Fresno State finished out the top 25. They were not ranked last week. Others receiving votes, Air Force 78, Iowa 57, USC 56, Kansas State 52, Liberty 50, Duke 24, UCLA 22, SMU 20, UNLV 10, Toledo 8, NC State 4, Kentucky 4, Troy 2, West Virginia 1. Dropped from the rankings, again, Air Force, UCLA, and USC. Yeah, I still find it hard that they managed to find a spot for Notre Dame in the top 25. Notre Dame went on the road and lost to an unranked 500 Clemson ball club. And somehow they're still worthy of being ranked 22 in the nation in both the AP and the coaches poll. That makes no sense to me. And anybody with a functioning brain, this makes absolutely no sense. So, I don't know. That's it for me tonight. I will be back, obviously, with the college football playoff rankings. You know what it is. You know what I do. Believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick. Have a great day.